Hello, everyone. As we have a few remaining people joining us today, just a few introductions to start us off. I'm Dan Sabinosh, Director of Shopper Marketing for Great Northern Instore. Great Northern Instore is a designer and manufacturer of retail merchandising from temporary, semi-permanent to permanent activations. Very pleased to have you today. Couple of quick things as we begin. Again, as a few people continue to log on as we just hit the top of the hour here. We're looking to have this webinar be about 45 minutes, so you can plan your time accordingly for that. I hope to leave a little time at the back end for any questions. So please utilize the questions section in the GoToWebinar tool to pop in anything that comes to mind as I'm going through the deck today and talking about the trends happening with health and beauty at retail. The other thing to say is following this, you'll get a thank you note later this afternoon that if you have any additional questions or wish to have any of the content, you can respond to that and we will get out to you what you need. So you don't have to scribble crazily during the webinar today. All right, with that, we'll begin to jump in to health and beauty retail insights. I always love to start though is introducing Great Northern Instore and what we do. Our mission is about helping our customers win by doing what others can't or won't. And this is one of those areas we love to really engage and be insightful at the upfront of any projects and with our customers to really understand what's happening in the marketplace and applying those trends to make sure that your activations stand out and win at retail. So, health and beauty, they kind of both are at the core of global trends that are going on. Without a doubt, health, even before the pandemic, which has made everybody really sensitive to their health and safety, this has been an ongoing trend about people taking a much more proactive look towards their health, particularly as populations age as well, the concerns around that. We know that's a big mega trend going on around the world. And beauty, of course, in many ways helps sets a lot of the trends. It's one of its big purposes is to help people feel their best, be on trend, and be their best. So it is all about that, and definitely bringing to the fore, particularly with their products and then with their merchandising, the most cutting edge on trend activations to entice shoppers, get them to try their products and put them in their baskets and become loyalists to their brands. Now, as I kind of look through all of these trends and what's going on, one of the things you start to see, and we could see this in the merchandising as we did our audits, Mintel really highlighted across these categories, there's this spectrum out there from science all the way to, on the other side, nature. And that sometimes working together, maybe sometimes not, but those ideas of solutions that fit on this spectrum. And we'll talk about that as we see the activations that we observed at retail. And of course, I think the other thing I wanted to touch on is in this area, there is a load of change. Retail is adapting to obviously the pandemic. It comes down to health and safety right off the bat, how people are shopping, the products they're shopping for, trying to be preventative as best they can, and really driving those behaviors. And then as well in the store, it has been about making that trip as efficiently as possible to minimize exposure, maximize safety. So seeing that starting to loosen up, obviously here in the US, we're all fighting though that aspect of, as we see the numbers climb again, what is that going to mean for us, and the uncertainty that that brings as we enter the winter season where we'll be more indoors, and where does that lead us to? So we know these habits are adjusting and adapting, but on top of that, retail has been adapting all along. We've seen companies like CVS, that drugstore, really transforming itself into a health company. Nothing new here, but it's just been this ongoing as they've obviously capitalized on their nearly 10,000 retail locations, but as well merging out and having medical benefit plan members and the whole package around providing health solutions for their customers in a holistic way, and not just being the store. More recently, seeing a few different things pop up. Dollar General announced in October the opening of a couple stores in the Nashville area called Pop Shelf. These are stores that are targeting people or households with income $50,000 to $125,000. They are primarily selling seasonal decor, entertaining, hot health and beauty must-haves, cleaning supplies. Again, targeting a little bit more affluent demographic than their mainline stores. They're looking to have 30 of these open by the end of their 2021 fiscal year. So making a play into this space and trying to understand and really provide as health and beauty a different format along with other items, but something that stands out. And then, of course, this week there was the announcement of Target and Ulta partnering, where Ulta will be having a store within a store in 100 Targets again by a point in 2021. So another partnership where they're coming together to, they feel there's strong brand synergies and opportunities by bridging these two retailers together, particularly citing these in areas that make sense compared to where Ultas are located, to create this experience that's going to delight the Target guest and as well build more brand awareness for Ulta Beauty as well, and bring their offerings to a much larger audience. So interesting to see these plays continue to morph in these categories. Hopefully by next year, when these are out and about more frequently, we'll see some images from these places in our audit as they come to life. The other thing we've been doing in our back to school webinar was the first case of this, is we've started social listening around these key topics and around health and beauty, retail, merchandising, etc. A couple of things that were interesting to me to note: a really high positive sentiment. So not a lot of negatives. I mean, we saw more negatives when we talked about back to school shopping and some of the frustrations that were there. This is phenomenally high. And then, you know, the word diagram there of all the key words, of course, retail, health, wellness pop more. Obviously, a lot to do with the times we're in. That is obviously the critical category right now with the pandemic and people wanting to maintain their health and safety through this. So you see the more emphasis there. But that said, a couple of things I wanted to highlight at the top. Some things still come to life, and we're still in this diagram. Experience, which we talk about a lot at retail, particularly to really try to drive higher end or higher consideration product sets to really create that experience for the shopper. It's on there. Services as well, and thinking about what's the connective tissue to various beauty or health services are all part of this, that the social world is seeing and connecting with this. And finally, technology. We'll talk a little bit about this at the end of the webinar. But again, how do we use technology to really drive engagement with these shoppers in these categories? So we got out to a number of stores. I don't have the exact count with me today, but we observed over 300 distinct retail activations as we were out and about, and we're able to do some quantitative analysis on some of those. So you'll see that as we go through the deck, and we'll talk about and break this into these 5 sections that we'll get through. Green, building on that trend that we talked about natural, eco-friendly, etc. Trust, sophisticated, structure, and then what are some of those next trends? So starting out with green. Obviously, it's a big part of a mega trend. But to me, what was very interesting, one of the things we looked at very closely in this audit was use of color on the activations. Again, we looked at over 300 unique activations throughout retail. And in fact, it was 10% or under. And by the way, all through the presentation, I will talk about breaking this into beauty, really that high-end cosmetics, hair care, and the like, personal care, which gets more into those soaps, toothpaste, shave, etc., and then distinctly health. So in this case, green was more used in the health end of things than even personal care and beauty, which again, green is a great color. We saw this when we went to Euroshop earlier this year, where that was the color we saw the most of, really intonating natural growth, healthy from those pieces. So interesting to see here in the US in our health and beauty audit this fall. There's enough of it, it's significant, but it wasn't the eye-popping quantity of really being highly utilized. The other one though, and this got a little bit better, again, still not breaking the 10% barrier, was the use of ingredient imagery on the displays. So you'll see a couple of examples of this, but you started to see this pervade a bit, where again, that idea of sourcing natural and thinking about the ingredients were key. And that was put definitely on personal care and health activations. So a few images that we'll see in this vein. Conscious beauty here at an Ulta store, a permanent end cap, really again utilizing whites but primarily greens on this display to come through with that nature aspect of it, and the choices that are here in being conscious, eco-friendly conscious choices for you. Nailtopia, in this case, it's all about using the ingredients in terms of some of the sourcing of what's in there. And they're highlighting here that their ingredients are biosourced, plant-based, renewable. So again, building that into it, maybe not the first thing you think about with nail polish. So they're calling out very clearly with this activation at Ulta. Here in Walgreens, raw sugar, again, utilizing this tray that really highlights green in the background, as well as using almost a wood tone print for the tray, bottom of the tray itself that its product is sitting in. And then again, those images of the ingredients used, maybe in the sense, but at least kind of bringing that to life. This was a picture of something in Euroshop that we saw. So you'll see a few of those sprinkled in, and more towards the end is really thinking about some of those trends coming up next. But again, for this Garnier product, I love utilizing the bottle, supersizing it on this activation. But again, the use of green and some great iconography to really highlight the renewable resources, the recyclability of the plastics, et cetera, that are all tied together on here on that on this display. For U Theory at Costco, same thing, seeing a lot of this. In this case, they didn't necessarily pull out the green dramatically. There's a little bit, I'd say this is a more white and blue display per their brand and logo, but they are definitely calling out very clearly on the palette skirt, relieve stress naturally, calling that out, making that very available and easily read by the shopper. A few other ones, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be green. Elemis in, again, this is Ulta, a beautiful end cap display. I love the different layers here to really create visual interest and impact as you're coming up on this. But in this case, they're using blues, whether it's kind of the flower petals that are blue or the water elements in blue. Really, again, it's the nature of it that comes to life. Maybe not using green, but the natural elements come through really nicely on this display. I also love how they call out on this the best sellers. Just kind of a neat call out is people are looking for the best products, the most popular products. They're calling out boldly right there at the top of that column on the left. And now bringing it a little bit towards that combination. We talked the spectrum between science and nature, and we've talked a lot about nature. This is a Meyer end cap, and in this case, they have the natural ingredients there highlighted on this big image that sits on the top shelf to just draw attention. But it talks about backed by science. So it's a good transition as we move into the next category that we're going to touch upon of activations that I summarized up as calling trust. But it is building into somewhat the science behind things. And I'm going to also talk about this in terms of color. Blue. Blue is a color that definitely resonates and calls to mind calming, trust, intelligence. It's one of those, some of the psychology behind using that color. So in this case, you don't see a lot of it in beauty. Sure, there's 10%, which actually compared to the green is actually a pretty good number, but definitely in personal care and health products, you see these numbers using blue. It's the most popular color used in those categories. So huge, and you'll see that in the activations. Also, building on this factor of trust is the use of claims. And in this case, when kind of scanning through all the 300 plus images, was really looking for hard hitting numerical #1 claims. You'll see some examples of it, and they're there in beauty. Yes, 19% of the activations we saw had those sort of hard hitting firm claims. But definitely as you move into personal care and into health, you see a lot of the applications, either just more than a third or over 50% of the health activations using hard hitting claims. So critical to build that trust, connect with the shopper, and get them to understand the key benefit of what the product is providing. So again, it's not rocket science, but here in this case, Target, no claim here, but it's the idea of using that blue to pull together all the kids' health and wellness products here that they have on this end cap / table display. So it just kind of resonates that bit of that health blue, yes, trusted intelligence. Sliding over into the club environment. On this slide, you see two in this case, not the Blusa blue, but those hard-hitting claims. You see the #1 cardiologist recommended, bold and clear right there on that palette in front in red. And then a little bit in the background on the EOS, you see #1 organic lip balm brand. Again, that idea of calling out I'm #1, helping drive that consideration while the shopper is walking down the aisle. Here in Costco, also for their Kirkland products, on this palette skirt, again, very clearly you see the use of blue, also on the one next to it for calm, but on the Kirkland brand, a few things to call out is that it's got the blue, it's got the seal talking about verified quality, and then also it goes the next step of having a professional there, the picture of a pharmacist, doctor that's there to provide that credibility. So you see a lot of those elements come together there to really highlight and build that trust with the shopper. And it doesn't have to be these fancy activations. Here's icy hot, a simple blue floor stand in a grocery store, calling out that it's America's #1 brand for pain relief. So it can be quite simple, but gets it done. On these trays at Walmart, Oral-B, again, utilizing the #1 claim, #1 dentist recommended and used worldwide, huge, and then removes 300% more plaque. Again, those sort of things just are overwhelming. And again, it's the brand color blue, but using that same blue, driving that psychology of the shopper in and ongoing and ongoing. Another example, Mucinex, blue again here, and as well, right in the middle, boldly calling out the 12-hour claim that nothing lasts longer. That's the kind of stuff that makes and gets attention quickly and connects, so the shopper understands why to pick that product up versus the competitor. Slightly different path, Native. Here on these PDQ trays, in this case, calling out their social media reviews, over 13,000 5-star reviews, again, making it bold right there on their in-store merchandiser. So again, calling that out very clearly. Again, Native using blue. So that's definitely the realm of, we see a lot of personal care, health and wellness products all falling into that end of things. Now, on the other end, beauty, think sophisticated. And in this case, in the beauty realms, black is the most highly utilized color. Very closely followed by white. We'll talk about that later, but black, #1 color used in 41% of the activations. Personal care uses it in nearly a quarter, and then a much more rare in health applications. And then the other aspect that we see a lot in beauty that ties into this is the use of people. So again, you see it across the board. You see faces, lifestyle imagery utilized in health 10% of the time, 1/4% of the time in personal care, but definitely in beauty, nearly half the activations have faces in them to highlight why buy this product. In some ways, that's almost the proof. Instead of the hard-hitting claim, it's the imagery. So some examples of that: nude sticks at Ulta, again, highlighting that. You see the primary color of black utilized, and then you see the faces utilized throughout this activation. This one also, from a structural standpoint, really cool in how it utilizes the angles to create, again, the accessibility to the messaging and the product, but then also softening it a little bit. It's a bold statement, this display, but putting those rounded curves on each of these really, again, changes that look up. Go from the high end to a much simpler application for CoverGirl. Again, a mini tower, utilizing black, utilizing faces. In this case, utilizing some pretty cool little clear cantilevered shelves as well to highlight the product, really have it out there that are clear so you just can't miss the product. I also like, this is something that was different. We did these color quantifications 2 years ago in our audit, and little foreshadowing, we were seeing in beauty a little bit of additional color pops this year, like this bright green in this case. Olay, end cap at Walgreens. Again, the black, prominent, creating that sophisticated look. And yes, the second color of beauty is white, that clean, simple, almost highlighting how easy and somewhat the purity of the products. In this case also, Olay going that other step of doing some of the claims of hydrates better than the $400 cream. So really, again, it does, you do see some of the claims coming into beauty as well. This great end cap at Walmart, and we'll talk about end caps a little bit further later on, but great application using light, permanent materials, and again, the idea of calling out America's #1 setting spray right there. You see the model, it's black, sophisticated, but pink is also, that pink purple is right there, giving that pop of energy to this display. And here's an example of black moving into personal care displays. Gleam Power toothbrushes really creating that slick, sophisticated look on this side cap. And as well into cosmetics with CoverGirl, that again, primarily black, sophisticated look, the traditional look, little bit of color pops in there with the purple and the lavender, but primarily that black look to things. You even see the ELF display right next to it, the side cap, also black and white. But as I mentioned, we were beginning to see a few other colors creep in. On our last audit 2 years ago, when we dug into color, beauty displays were 90% black or white and very few colors utilized. We started to see this year colors coming into being, where 33% of beauty displays had some sort of pinks and purples, including on them, I'll say as a major color, not necessarily just for small highlights, less so in personal care and health. And just a few examples, maybe not quite a pink, but a bright orange. So we saw the CoverGirl before, the more traditional. Here, I admire a CoverGirl display with that pop of bright, fun orange to create a bit of a different feel to things. Here's Invisibobble hair care accessories with the pinks and purples all together rolled into one. Again, for a bit of that fun of what this product is about. And another one, Real Techniques, again, utilizing pinks here, and as well calling out their #1 makeup sponge. And even into Ulta Beauty, here is Florence by Mills, this countertop unit with lovely purples, pinks, that whole, just that kind of look that's much more whimsical than the blacks. And then, as I mentioned, the other primary colors utilize white, and beauty definitely utilizes it a lot. Personal care utilizes it a lot. Health a little bit less so, but still pretty popular. As mentioned before, blue was the #1 health color. And then the other thing to call out in terms of product imagery was product. We talked about faces, we talked about ingredients, and then obviously there's many activations that are going to be just plain with the offer or with the product logo, but pictures of the product itself are definitely very prominent. Half of beauty displays have the product prominently pictured. Personal care a little bit less. Interestingly, healthcare pretty high up there. So highlighting, and you saw it in some of the activations like Costco, the bottles of the vitamins are all there depicted on the pallet skirts. So moving into a little bit of what we see in this category of structure. And one of the things is extremely prominent is the idea on any of the activations, whether it's trays, pallets, etc., of seeing more and more where the product is neatly organized by trays that have cutouts specifically designed. So rather than having all the bottles being loose and bumping into each other and getting all kind of mixed up, keep a nice orderly look on your end cap by having those forms in the bottom of the trays that keep the product neat and organized. Here's Harry's doing the same thing with both their razors and their accompanying shave products for Harry's and Flamingo. In this case, and we saw this a little bit throughout, the idea of utilizing the structure and creating spaces that then help the shopper understand and navigate the products. In this case, this is a huge cough, cold, allergy, pain relief, all sorts of products in Meijer on this pallet train. And in this case, they utilize the space that the structure affords them to really create these charts to help the shopper understand what their symptoms are telling them and guiding them to the right product to buy by this bold chart to help them out. From a structural standpoint here in CVS, this really cool Sunbum end cap. And this is the introduction to a series I'm going to have of photos now on where retailers have really been letting in the health and beauty spaces end caps being taken over by brands rather than just the normal, thank you very much, let's put 4 or 5 PDQ trays on the standard end cap. Let's take all the shelves off and drop in a complete activation. And we're seeing this throughout retailers. Here in CVS, Sunbum coming up with this cool display, highlighting their logo with curves that just stand out and are something different from all the straight lines that are typical at retail. AOS Sport here at Target, creating this locker that actually houses and merchandises the product, and it acts as the shelves for the product, bright orange against the dark black background. Of course, you see the tie-in with James Harden, the professional sports athlete, and what that brings to it, and he is life size. Another Target end cap for hims and hers, again, life size imagery of people, and then the product merchandised on cantilevered shelves next to that to create that are boldly calling out what the products are for right on those shelf lips, rather than relying on a typical end cap shelf, which doesn't really afford that kind of messaging. Flamingo, again, taking it over, creating this whimsical scene right there that's almost right there on the beach with the sandy colors and the pastel purples and lavenders, and really create something that captures the eye with the stair-step merchandising. And even Gillette in its partnership with Vera Bradley, creating this shower scene, again, that's just stands out, pops. That shower head is actually three-dimensional plastic. So really creating something different and whimsical at the store, and neatly merchandising the product right there is all part of this scene that is set by the activation. Harry's larger than life end cap with a larger than life image of their product to really introduce their blades. That's what you just pop right to, that shiny blades that are right there that are larger than life. And it doesn't have to be all of these, I'll say, you know, brands that are new, brands that are cutting edge. Here, P&G put together a throwback end cap. Now, yes, the bottom few trays, our shelves are still there, but up top created this overall throwback look that you love for all of these items. In the health area, Advil taking over a Walmart end cap, which allows them to merchandise the product as well as really create the billboard space to highlight how this product works and the benefits that it provides. Bliss Skincare, again at Walmart, taking it over, creating a whole branded experience in their pastel colors. The brand pops and just again captures attention with the overall shape of this display. And this one's really cool. Walmart in some of their formats have these skinny end caps. Maybelline did a cool thing here where they created a spinner right on it. So the shopper can come up to this, engage, and allows them to merchandise more products and provide an engagement with that shopper. And they nicely color code each side of that, and that's shown and explained on the left side there on the information panel. So really nicely done. And it's not even just end caps. In this case, Walmart having an Olay piece on their four-ways. So again, there's a lot of opportunities to create these pieces that drop in. Target, CVS, Walmart so far, and here's Walgreens. Advil putting this activation together for their dual action product that sits right on the top and boldly merchandises the product. And again, just like the Walmart display, provides a great billboard to highlight the benefits of this product. And then again, in the beauty area for this Halloween display, creating this drop-in that has a die cut top, stands out, very different than anything else in the store. And even on side panels, Walgreens has a strict style guide, but working together with them, Colgate pulled together this activation. It's really sharp, that is able to billboard and tell the message about the product, the overnight whitening pen, again, hard-hitting claim, as well as merchandise the entire regimen, all there on one side cap. And this is a cool welly display. Again, it's taking the standard side cap and adding that extra fun to it, which is what this brand is all about. Zarbee's as well. Again, here we see a brand calling out the #1 claim right near the bottom. I probably would have liked it a little further up. Highlighting ingredients, that it's naturals, but again, utilizing fun with structure, creating that three-dimensional hexagon like the honeycomb that ties in with its logo and what it's about. So really cool activation at Walgreens. So with that, I'm going to touch on a few other things of what we see coming up. Some of them we are already out there, but more and more, I don't think this is that new, but it's really continuing to build the idea of what you can do in the aisle. So this is a Harry's display in Walgreens, merchandising the regimen really nicely. As well as the other thing I really like is getting the product out of pack. Obviously, it's a razor blade, got to be careful, so it's behind plastic, but again, really helps the shopper see, examine this product before buying it, since it's in a sealed up box. This one's really cool. Tarte at Ulta. Couple things. Again, using the supersized product there on the corner of this end cap of the concealer itself, calling out that it's #1, but I also love the lighting. And we do see this a lot in beauty already, but calling it out, we continue to see this expand, is using lighting to really help pop. KKW Beauty in Ulta. Lighting again, but the other thing that was interesting to me on this one, again, moving from black, in this case, moving to some tans, natural colors, something a bit different, not quite the pinks and purples that we had seen more frequently, but moving to this neutral tone, which is a really sophisticated look in its own right. So kind of cool use of a different color. And again, when you then see this in store compared to everything else, it's very different than the black look all around it. This one was just fun at Target. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this already. Winky Lux end cap, utilizing light, highlighting its logo that really pops, so it engages you from afar. The flowers, and then the supersized lipstick right there. The image of the model. I mean, just a lot of pieces all coming together here that create this really luxurious piece. Now, a couple of things we saw in Euroshop. We saw this in their awards area there of Oral-B, and I love, in this case, the demonstration units where, again, a shopper can see the toothbrush before buying it, particularly these expensive powered units, and utilizing light. We saw that actually in several of our store visits, that several of many stores would actually have lit toothbrush displays by Oral-B in them. Again, really highlighting this category, particularly around the higher end powered units that really draw the shopper into them and help drive trade up. Just some fun structures, again, that we saw there at Euroshop. All of these very white, again, using that idea of clean, simple. So you see some fun here with some of these structures that were created. I love the one, the second from the left, utilizing the different cutouts. It's a cubic kind of display, but again, provides messaging and product. And again, you see the cutouts to keep the product organized. The Walletta display, a little bit like the Flamingo display in Target, utilizing the stair step and the layers, and then using the iconic Eiffel Tower to create, again, this beauty display as well. It ties in with the brand, but it's using this differentiating shape that really helps pop. And then we talked technology. We did see a lot of displays there in Europe and Euroshop using video technology. In this case, this is a clear monitor, so it's almost like a diorama. There are products set up in that display, or I should say behind the display, and it is a clear display that then utilizes messaging right on top of the product. Really cool, really differentiating. And then as well, they're using a lot of LED here, again, to help attract attention. This great display, same thing, utilizing a smart mirror right there to really help the shopper engage and understand the products, almost test and learn virtually with that smart mirror on this Dior display. And then just some other clean looks at Euroshop. Clean type of lines utilized here. Again, black and white for this spa-like beauty health experience, in this case, merging the two. And then these really clean looking counter units, as you see in the foreground, that kind of clip on and present the product in a neat, clean way. As talked about, finishes and colors starting to pop. We saw some very cool, different powder coated, in this case, metallic pink finish on this. Again, creating an overall look in health and beauty that's differentiated from the stark blacks and whites. And then finally, even starting to draw in woods and natural materials. So when thinking about permanent, don't just think about clean blacks or whites, but thinking even about moving into using some of the natural materials if that's where your product is connected with and trying to convey that. So starting to see some of that come out that should be easily transferable to match up with the green trend that we all see. So I touched on a lot of different things in a real hurry and got right up to the end of our webinar time frame. So I apologize that I don't have much time to answer questions, but I want to thank everybody for attending and your attention. I want to definitely say again, you will get an email that if you want any of the content, please respond to me and I can get you slides or the deck or different of the statistics that we saw as we audited retail. And as well, please provide any feedback because again, that's how we get better. I welcome any feedback you can offer in response to that email. It would be much appreciated. So thank you everybody for your time and have a great rest of your day.